They're different from the others. That's the first thing you notice. They don't perform interest. They don't text you 17 times before noon, or ask where this is going on the third date, or love bomb you into a warm haze that you'll have to pay for later. They're measured, calm, self-contained in a way that reads at first as maturity. You find it attractive. Of course you do. The person who doesn't need you is the most interesting person in the room. The person who has a full life that you are being selectively invited into. The person who gives you space, which feels in the beginning like respect. It will take you a while to realize that the space is not being given. It's just there. They respond. Eventually. Not in the way that means they were busy. In the way that means they saw it, lived with it for a while, decided what they felt about it, drafted a response in their head, got a glass of water, considered whether responding immediately would communicate something they weren't ready to communicate, and then responded. 3 hours later, fine, totally fine. You are a reasonable person. You do not require immediate responses. You have a life. You have things to do. You are not sitting watching the 2 gray ticks waiting for them to turn blue. You are absolutely not doing that. You put your phone face down specifically so you would not do that. You did that 11 minutes ago, and you've checked it 4 times since. They say, hey, yeah, sounds good. You say, great. The conversation has occurred. It goes like this. They let you in a little, just enough that you can see there's more. A moment of real honesty. A story from their past they haven't told many people. A laugh that's completely unguarded. A night where they stay later than they said they would, and the conversation goes somewhere neither of you planned. You think, there it is, that's the person underneath. Then they disappear for 4 days. Not literally. They're there, technically present. But something has closed. The door that was briefly open is now shut, and you're not even sure which thing you did that shut it. Whether it was something you did, whether proximity itself is the thing that triggered it. Whether getting close is for them automatically the beginning of getting less close. You replay the last interaction. You don't find it. You were just there, both of you. And then suddenly you were alone again, waiting for them to come back from a place they didn't tell you they were going. They say they're not good at this, early on. Like a disclaimer on a contract you're about to sign. I'm not good at this. And you hear it and you think, yes, okay, but I am good at this, and I have enough warmth for both of us, and nobody is good at it really, and this is just someone being honest about their limitations, which is actually a sign of self-awareness. This is what you tell yourself. What you do not hear in that moment is the full translation. I'm not good at this means I will care about you and not say it. It means I will show up and then need to recover from showing up. It means, the closer you get, the more I will need to create distance, not because of you specifically, but because closeness has historically been something that costs me more than I can explain, and I don't fully understand it either. They're telling you everything. You hear the words and miss the meaning. Because you've decided the meaning is, they just need someone patient enough, someone consistent enough, someone who proves that proximity is safe, that someone is going to be you. You're not chasing them. That's important to you. You're just being consistent. There's a difference. Chasing is desperate. What you're doing is demonstrating reliability, creating a safe environment, being the person who doesn't leave so that eventually they understand that leaving isn't necessary. This is a strategy. You have not admitted to yourself that it is a strategy. You think you're just being yourself. You think this is what caring about someone looks like. You think the reason you're thinking about them at 11 in the morning and again at 2 and again when you see something they would find funny is simply because you like them. Which is true, and not also because the inconsistency has created a low-grade fixation that feels like connection, which is also true. Both things are true. You're keeping one of them in a drawer. There are good days. This is the thing that makes it complicated. This is the thing that makes you stay inside the complexity when leaving would be simpler. The good days are genuinely good. When they're present, they're really present. When the walls are down, there's a person behind them who is worth knowing, who is funny in the specific way you like, who notices things, who when they're not managing the distance is someone you could fall towards without looking for the ground. Those days are not breadcrumbs. That's what people will tell you. Your friend will use the word breadcrumbs, and you will feel defensive because it's not as simple as breadcrumbs. The good days are real. The person is real. The connection is not imagined. What's also real is the ratio. You've started noticing the ratio, the conversation about the conversation. You bring it up. Of course you bring it up. You're someone who believes in communication, in naming things, in not letting resentment build silently in a drawer until it fills the room. You believe that the conversation is the solution, that if you can just describe what you're experiencing clearly enough, with enough calm and enough care and enough of the language you've been practicing in your head for 3 days, then the conversation will land and something will shift. You have the conversation. They listen. They say they hear you. They say they know they do this. They say they're working on it. They say they're sorry in the particular way that sounds like they mean it, because they do mean it, and meaning it and being capable of changing it are you're starting to understand different muscles. You feel better after the conversation, for a while. Then the pattern restarts. Not because they're malicious, not because they don't care, because the pattern is not a choice they're making. It's the water they've been swimming in since before they knew swimming was something you could do differently. What it's actually like. It's like being handed something warm and then watching it be taken back before you've finished holding it. It's like a door that opens a crack and then the draft closes it, and you can't tell whether the draft was external or whether someone on the other side is leaning against it. It's like loving a lighthouse. You can see it clearly from a distance. When you get close, the light sweeps past you. You don't say any of this out loud. You say things are complicated but good. They say same. What they need versus what you need. They need space and you need closeness, and these are not compatible needs, and you've been trying to solve this like it's a scheduling problem. Like if you could find the right amount of reach and the right amount of retreat, then the needs would stop pulling in opposite directions and everything would calibrate into something workable. It's not a scheduling problem. They need the door to be open on their terms, from the inside, pushed open by their own decision, at their own pace, for their own reasons. Closeness arrived at, rather than given to them, because closeness given to them feels like demand even when it's offered freely, even when you're not pushing. Even when you're genuinely just standing there with your hands open. The hands being open can still feel like too much. This is not your fault. This is also not really their fault. This is just two people whose nervous systems learned different things about what love looks like and whether it's safe and what happens when someone gets too close. It's nobody's fault and it costs you anyway. You can't love someone into security. You knew this technically as a piece of information. You'd heard it. Possibly you had said it to someone else. But knowing something as information and knowing it as experience are different countries, and you have now moved to the country of experience, and the weather here is not what you expected. You can be consistent and patient and present and safe, and it doesn't reorganize their nervous system. They reorganize their own nervous system slowly through their own work if they decide to do the work on their timeline toward their own version of available. You can be there while that happens. You cannot make it happen. The only variable you actually control is whether you're okay with the pace. Are you okay with the pace? The real question. Not can they change? Not do they love you? Not is this fixable? The real question is who are you while you're waiting? Because there's a version of waiting that's patient and grounded and genuinely okay. And there's a version of waiting that slowly turns you into someone who monitors and second guesses and edits themselves and gets smaller, trying to take up exactly the right amount of space and stop saying the full true thing, because the full true thing has sometimes caused the door to close. Check which version you're in, not which version you were in at the beginning. Which version you're in right now. What comes next? One of a few things. They do the work, the slow, real kind. Not the kind that produces a different person overnight, but the kind that produces a slightly more available person over time. The door opens a little more each time and doesn't close as hard after. You see it, you stay, or you realize that you've been so focused on their capacity to open that you've stopped asking whether you're happy standing outside. And that question, once you actually let yourself ask it, has a real answer. Not the answer you've been protecting them from. The actual answer. The last thing. You're not doing anything wrong by caring about someone who finds caring complicated. You're not weak for staying. You're not naive for believing in them. You're not wrong for wanting what you want. The desire to love someone all the way through their defenses is not a character flaw. It's just not always enough. And knowing when enough has been enough is not giving up. It's just answering the question honestly, the same way you've been hoping they would.